Welcome back, everybody, to episode 13 of Two Crime Besties.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be here for another week.
So am I. It's very exciting. We've got our new equipment. We've got, if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, we've actually got some little backdrops now. I feel like every week we're kind of getting a little bit, more professional and whatnot.
As long as they stay up.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll see.
We'll see. We might have to invest in the stands next.
I think so.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, happens. But they're cool for now. How's your week been?
Yeah, pretty good week. Not too bad. It's been a busy one as usual, running around after kids and keeping me very busy actually. But
yeah, I've been really enjoying watching the Olympics.
Loving watching the Olympics, and my kids are way into it.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I'm very because Australia's doing so well this year too. Better than they've ever done before with gold medal tallies and stuff, that it's like, I think it's just making it even more exciting. And
and every morning you wake up and there's a new gold medal to our tally.
Yeah. And how's the little go-getter, the 14-year-old skateboarder, Arissa True? Holy cow.
Unbelievable.
That's impressive.
She's such a gorgeous kid. Like, to be 14 and being interviewed by the world's media and to come across so amazingly... she's incredible.
Oh, well, I got to have a bit of reminiscent from my younger days, and I was able to say to the boys, that because I think it was on Instagram that Tony Hawk shared her win, and I'm like, well, Tony Hawk's more my era.
Totally.
And so I'm then I'm showing the boys Tony Hawk videos of him doing his stuff, and they were blown away by him. And I'm like, well, Tony Hawk will say Arissa True is better than him even now.
Yeah, he does.
And then she's freaking 14.
She's 14. Speaking of Tony Hawk, when we were kids, my brother and I used to play Tony Hawk on the Nintendo 64.
Same.
It was the best.
Yep.
But my brother would turn the Nintendo off because I was better at it than him. And if I got a higher score, he'd literally turn the Nintendo off. And I'm still not over it 25, 30 years later. So today we are talking about none other than Melissa Caddick.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a really interesting story with a couple of very interesting characters, most notably her second husband, Anthony Coletti. We will get to him as the episode goes on, but stay tuned, guys.
Oh, it's so good.
So good. So Melissa Caddick, born Melissa Grimley. She was born in Sydney in New South Wales in Australia on the 21st of April in 1971. She was born into a very sort of middle-class, normal Australian family, had a pretty typical upbringing from everything I've been able to hear.
Yeah.
Her family seemed lovely.
Yeah.
Her mum and dad... hardworking people. She's got a brother who has really stuck by her throughout this entire ordeal, even though, he was actually one of her victims in the end.
They've all been impacted by this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Melissa was a self-proclaimed businesswoman.
Well, very much so self-proclaimed. I mean, she, from all accounts, she finished school and went and didn't do great at school. She didn't do poor at school. I
actually think she didn't do very well at school. From one of the podcasts I was listening to, there's a really good podcast about this case called Liar Liar.
Yeah.
Go and check it out if you want a long-form podcast about this case and goes into really intricate detail. But apparently she used to do what is known as, it sounds horrible, but veggie maths.
I did veggie maths. That's what I did too. Because you had to do a maths subject to get into education.
Yeah.
And so I did veggie maths because I suck at maths. But surprise, surprise! Later on, got diagnosed with dyslexia. So, of course, I wasn't great at maths. Dirt peeps.
Yeah. If only you'd known sooner.
If only. That's why veggie maths was my perfect subject.
Well, I don't even think it was a perfect subject for Melissa because I don't think she did.
It still.
I think she did really she really struggled with it from all accounts.
Okay.
So
she went into finance. Sorry.
Well, she didn't actually. She kind of fell into finance, though, didn't she? In a way.
Yeah.
Because she basically, she after school, I think she aspired to go to university. For her, the way her life was perceived by other people was really important, even from back when she was, really, really young. So after high school, she actually went to, it was called Patrick's College, and it wasn't a university. It was just she ended up doing a secretary and business admin course there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of led into her first job.
But even from that start, she was lying on her resume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm not sure if did she lie on her first job, because she was employed originally as an office administrator. So I don't know that she would have had to have lied to get that job, given
probably not.
the course at Patrick's College that she did.
Yeah.
However, pretty much every job she had subsequently,
yes,
she lied about. So she worked for NRMA in their investment division as an office admin type role. She'd be getting coffees. She'd be like,
inputting data, I
guess. That's it.
That sort of
and
stuff.
I think she'd take like minutes of meetings and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I guess she was privy to some information during that time. And then there was a boutique investment bank, and the guy, I think, who started that bank wanted to groom someone to sort of get somebody on board to kind of help build his business, and somebody he could kind of mentor and grow. In order to get that role, though, she lied.
Yes.
So this was the start of known documented lying in this case. On her resume, she put fictitious qualifications, including a degree from finance from the University of Technology in Sydney. It later came out when the university was approached to find out whether or not she actually held this qualification. Their comment was, there is no record of completion of a diploma in finance or a master's in business or finance or any qualification under the name Melissa Caddick or Grimley.
Yep. Never attended.
Never even applied.
No. No record of her whatsoever.
No record of her.
Yeah.
So in 1998, 6 months after starting at this boutique investment bank, which actually, just real quick, what's a boutique investment bank? And how can I get in?
It sounds nice.
Yeah. So 6 months after starting there, they actually found out that they discovered that she'd stolen about $2,000 by forging her boss's signature on checks. And they found it out because I think there was a branch in Perth and a branch in New South Wales, and there was some discrepancy when they were balancing the books. And the owner of the business went down to the bank so that he could actually physically see the checks, and he looks at the signature on them and he's like, that's not my signature.
Not even close. Like,
Yeah.
sort of, yeah.
Like, you think she'd see his signature and at least try and copy it, but apparently it wasn't even, it was really obvious that it wasn't his.
Yeah. She was like skimming off the top, basically just stealing money from the company. Yeah.
So in this instance, it was to the tune of around 2,000 Australian dollars.
So not a lot.
Not a lot. So he said to her, you can either leave quietly and without consequence, or I'm going to call the police. And she chose to leave. Now, had they prosecuted her at the time, do you think the outcome would have been any different?
I think that maybe, look, she was prolific in what she ended up doing, and I think she would have tried to find ways. But maybe there would be some record then of things that she'd done in the past, and therefore she couldn't have maybe got as far as she did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think she still would have tried it on.
Yeah.
But agreed. I think maybe it would have put a little flag up when she was, I don't know, when she was starting to be investigated maybe, and was like, and they could go back and go, oh, right, in 1998.
Already had been prosecuted.
Yeah, or even just a red flag of even if she wasn't prosecuted. I don't know if that would have made a difference.
Yeah.
But, we'll never know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she forged 4 checks to the tune of the $2,000. So
yeah.
I'm sure if she wasn't caught, she would have just kept doing it.
Oh, absolutely. And look, the company not doing anything further, I understand that. How much easier for them to deal with it, just go, hey, you're done here. Off you go. Yeah. To go through actually, filing the full, and trying to charge her or whatever with this would have been a nightmare for the company a bit. So I don't blame them for it.
Yeah.
But it has meant that she's pretty much gone, right, well, okay, I've learnt something and I'll adapt.
And this is how I'm going to get around this next time.
Yeah.
She was then hired as a financial advisor. Sorry, this is the company that she was looking to be groomed to become a financial advisor through. Sorry, that
Yeah,
wasn't. Sorry,
yep.
At the boutique investment bank, she was hired as office administrator as well. Sorry,
but then the next job, she again lied on her resume.
Yes,
saying that at that previous company where she was literally just administratively, really, they were wanting to help groom her and teach her and things, but she then on her resume put that basically she was managing billion-dollar accounts.
Literally, billion with a B.
yeah.
Which she was. No. I think she said that she was managing NRMA's like international investments or something.
Yes.
Yeah. So she was hired as a financial advisor then for Wise Financial Services. They were a subsidiary of ING.
Yes.
So a really large corporation.
And was this the one that she basically became a small owner of?
She
invested in?
Small. Well, I guess. So she borrowed $750,000 Australian dollars to buy a 25% stake in the business.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's that? Valued at $3 million, the business. I guess they must have seen some potential in her. By all accounts, even though the owner of that business decided that he didn't want his name out there, he has made statements around her employment at the time. And he did say that she was very personable. She was wonderful with the clients. Mm-hmm. She was very well liked by everybody.
Yeah.
She was clearly grooming people, or she was gaining some knowledge. I mean, she was very
manipulative.
And manipulative, yeah. So I've written in my notes here that by 2003, she was very well regarded in the industry, and she featured on the cover of the Independent Financial Advisor. Yep. The first of 2 features.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know there was 2. I only thought there was 1.
The other one was after she was...
after
after when all this came out.
Not so... right.
So one's like, looking pretty good.
Yeah,
and the other one maybe not so much. She fell out with Wise Investments when the company refused to allow her to recommend property and shares to her clients.
Yeah, she was basically going beyond her scope of what her job really was.
So it was against regulatory compliance rules at the time, and I believe still is.
Still, yeah.
So she basically left there in December of 2004, and she left with her $750,000 investment.
They gave that back to her as well.
Yep.
And that's right. It's how much they wanted her out and done.
Yep, they paid her back with no interest.
No.
Like literally just gave her the money she'd invested into the company.
Yeah.
And went, haha, see you later. Yeah. She claimed to her friends. Now, this is where the con really, really started, because she claimed to her family and friends that she received, that she was involved. Actually, there are several stories.
She changed the story for everyone.
Yeah. The main story is, or the most commonly told story, was that she, during her time at Wise, she developed a piece of software with a few other people that superannuation funds purchased, and that she was paid $86 million as a result of generating this piece of software. $86 million.
86 mil.
Oh my God. And that she wasn't allowed to work in the industry for 10 years. She signed a non-compete
for 5 years. I think it was a non-compete for 5 years, I read.
Oh, okay. I read 10, but regardless, there was a period of time where she wasn't supposed to be trading.
Yeah.
Yeah. She also claimed that she got that money from the company because of a sexual harassment claim.
Yeah. Who's paying out 86 mil for a sexual harassment claim?
No one. But so she was telling her friends and family this, and they didn't question her. They believed what she said.
Yeah. She just went she would just spin everything, and I'm guessing she targeted who she changed her story for too.
She definitely did.
What would get that person more empathy, for her? It was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she then went on to start her own company called Maliva or Maliva. I've heard it said
I've heard it both ways, yeah. Yeah.
We've always got something in these episodes that we're not quite sure how to pronounce.
Just get my tongue around.
Yeah. And she started to rein in her friends. So she offered, I guess people were kind of conned into giving their money to her, because she was like, look, I'm just doing this for family and friends. I'm only taking on a few clients, and I've got a spot available just now, just for you. So if you invest with me. And so people felt pressured for sure.
Well, she started out, her first target was her lifelong friend and the way she sort of got her in was like, oh, we're both now single mothers and I'm investing my money. I could just do it for you at the same time and we could both benefit from this, and because that's where my skill set is. It's like, trying to bond with someone over that genuine, common ground and then using that to her benefit to do over her best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gets me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, she very much was like, I've only got 15 spots. I only ever take 15 clients at a time. Bullshit. Yeah. Like, she ended up with 60 clients
at the most.
At her peak.
Yep.
And some of them did pull their money out at times. But then she'd quickly replace them, obviously, because she's got to get the money coming in. Yeah.
And what was she getting the money coming in for? She wasn't investing people's money.
No.
She was spending it. And I mean, all of
Should
her
we
friends...
explain, I guess, for our international listeners too, what a superannuation fund is, I guess,
Sure.
because it's fairly Australian based. That basically it's a fund where we put money in, our employers contribute to these funds so that we have retirement money. So instead of necessarily relying entirely on government funds at the end of your working life, you have a bucket of money that
I think the equivalent in America is a 401k.
401k, yeah.
I'm not sure what the equivalent in Europe or Asia is, or whether there even is one, but it is basically, money for your retirement.
Yeah, yeah. And so there's different ways in Australia where how you can invest that. So most people use like funds that are set up. Some of them are like industry specific and things like that. But you can choose which fund you go with. They all invest in various ways. Or another way of going about it is doing a self-managed super fund, which is what Melissa Caddick was basically saying that she was able to do for these people, is take your money out of that company's fund, give it to me, and I'll invest it for you in whatever various ways to make the money. So,
and she was saying that she was getting far greater returns on the investments than the stock standard investment funds or superannuation funds that people had their money in. So
it's quite regulated in terms of taking money out of super funds. Like it is regulated that everyone must try and attempt to have this money when you finish your working life, that it's not a matter of, you can just freely take money out. You've actually got to prove what you're going to do with this money in some sort of superannuation retirement way. So you can invest in property or shares, things like that. But it's regulated, even under a self-managed situation.
That's it.
Yeah.
So Melissa was conning all of her friends and family. So they're thinking she's got this $86 million windfall and she's doing this out of the kindness of her own heart to help them build their portfolios and wealth base.
Already living like this very lavish lifestyle, and everyone was sort of querying where this money could have come from, that she was living like that.
Well, she had a story for where this money came from, but it wasn't her money. It was their money that she was spending. So this childhood friend of hers, she conned her parents, her nephew, niece, sister, to invest all of their money with her as well.
Yeah.
And when they saw that they were getting these incredible returns, they were not only investing their superannuation, they were investing, like, putting extra their own
money.
earnings into her portfolio. The accounts that she created through ComSec, so that's a trading account, they had 6 digits. Turns out ComSec's actual accounts, trading accounts, have 8. No one picked up on that. But I wouldn't. I would have no idea.
Because she would fraudulently get, so monthly they would get these statements from her that she just fraudulently created. And these digits at the top of the account number. Now, a ComSec account typically is managed by the individual who owns the account. So these people that she was pulling in were not financially savvy people, in that and I'm not a fully vouch to that. I wouldn't know the first thing about how you manage these things on your own.
Yep.
I mean, I've often said I'd love to put some money in shares, but I'm scared, terrified of it. Like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So they were basically relying on her to be able to go, oh, I know what I'm doing, so I'll do it for you. They didn't know that these ComSec accounts are not meant to be managed by the financial advisor. You as that person can direct where you send the money, but you're meant to be able to have full access to that account and be able to enter, like, literally log in like you do to your bank account, check how your shares are doing on a daily basis if you wanted to. That's not what she set up for them. Like, they couldn't access it. They had to go via her to see what their shares were doing. And she was just creating these false documents.
That's because
with
there was
spelling errors and everything.
I know. Like, you think she'd have a bit of attention to detail because by all accounts she was a bit of a control freak as well.
Yeah.
So, and she was very organised and meticulous in the way she approached, I'm going to say work, but it's not, her whole life,
her wardrobe,
really.
which I wanted to check out.
I know. Like, she had this, so she was spending everybody's money. She was going on these lavish holidays. She had a home in Dover Heights in Sydney, which is the second most expensive suburb in Australia.
Yeah.
The average house price there, I think, is something like $4.8 million. The average house price Australia-wide is somewhere like around the $1 million mark.
950 or something, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But her house was actually worth $6.2 million.
Well, it wasn't actually.
Well,
so she overpaid for that property, and which again is her just like kind of going, well, I can, so I will.
Apparently she was looking at some property. I don't think it was this particular one. They bought a penthouse in like Sydney City as well.
Yeah.
It might have been when she was looking for that, and she's looking around, and she didn't end up purchasing this property, but she was looking around. She was like, and it was worth $36 million. And apparently she said to the real estate agent, I wouldn't pay $1 over 32. Yeah. Like, what a wanker.
What a wanker.
And 32 million of whose money?
Whose money? Yeah.
I've got a note here that she spent $54,000 in one hit at a shoe store. So I think she spent like $250,000 at Dior in 18 months or something. And that's just at Dior.
Yeah.
She also had like Valentino, Louis Vuitton. She was spending big. And she loved her fashion.
Oh, yeah.
Shoes galore. They were all catalogued in her wardrobe with pictures on the front of the shoe boxes. Like, her wardrobe looked amazing.
Yeah. She wouldn't wear the same outfit twice either. So she was famously known for saying that she would wear a ball gown to work just because she hadn't everything else to wear that she hadn't worn yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. People sort of commented that she would rock up in these outfits that really didn't match what she was doing. And this was early days too. She was very much into her brand names.
Yep.
That even when she wasn't pulling hundreds of thousands of dollars from people, when she was just skimming the tops of other things for, a few $1,000s, she would rock up to work, I mean, they always say, dress for the job you want.
Yeah.
But she was fully dressing for the job she wanted, and it was way above where she was actually at.
Well, I think one of her bosses was like, I couldn't understand how she could afford a Louis Vuitton bag. And
because she was taking money off you, mate.
Yeah, and the designer clothes. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
She went on some incredibly extravagant holidays. I've got listed down here. Aspen she frequented Aspen.
I love the Aspen one because even to very recent time, her husband believes that the place that they were staying in Aspen, that she owned it. And she would tell people when she was there holidaying in Aspen that was their chalet and that they owned it. And it was actually apparently she bumped into a friend, well, not a friend. They just happened to just get talking to some people, and it turned out their kids went to school together back here in Australia. And this woman was being told, by Melissa Caddick that we own the chalet, and she fully knew that she didn't. She's like, it gets rented out,
and we come here every year, and we know that. I think they knew the owner or something
like that. They legit had big money.
Yeah,
I think her name was Prue, and I just love that because Prue from Brighton,
Prue and Trude.
It just fits really well. But yeah, so she would just tell these blatant lies. And this woman was like, I'm being such a snob here, but what the hell are you people doing here?
Yeah. So I think it's probably worth going back at this point before we really get into her undoing.
Yeah.
We go back to sort of her personal life and the way that kind of played out. Melissa was originally married, so she's got a penchant for men named Tony.
That's so true.
Because her first husband was named Tony Anthony Caddick, and they were married. He was a builder's labourer, I believe, when they first got married.
Yeah.
And she really, she didn't like that.
Well, he was an English backpacker out here. He was a friend of a friend that she got introduced to whilst he was backpacking out here.
Yeah. But as we were saying before, she, appearances were everything to her. And, oh, God, she couldn't possibly marry a a labourer. So she really pushed him to, I think he ended up studying law in the end. So he was from England, and at some point they decided to move over there to be closer to his family. They had a young son at the time, and they lived in Essex, and he was commuting every day to London for work. And by all accounts, he was very successful in his career. Like, he was really establishing himself. But
she didn't like Essex.
No. Well, she was quite secluded, I suppose, and she'd moved from Australia. She didn't really know many people. I don't think being a stay-at-home mum, because she wasn't working while she was there. So, she wasn't working when she was in England. She was raising their son together, but she wasn't that into it, I don't think.
No. She decided to, she convinced her husband that she needed to go to a conference to stay, involved
Relevant.
in the industry that she was working in. And I think she said to him she was going to Switzerland for a conference, but it turns out she went to Paris instead. And friends saw her in Paris. I mean, how freakish that you come up, you walk, all across the world, like this random place, and friends spots them in Paris. I guess from England to Paris it's not, where it was from us, from here in Australia it feels really, like, that's so far away. So he's in Paris. She's spotted by this friend because she's in Paris canoodling with her hairdresser from back in Australia.
The second Anthony.
It just happens to be the next Anthony,
Yeah.
So she's big time caught because the friend took photos. Like, it was obvious these two were not there catching up as friends.
Well, they were canoodling.
Canoodling was the word used. So they were making out, obviously, in some cafe. So now Anthony
number 2
is an interesting character.
10 years her junior.
11.
11 is that? Okay.
Scandal. But people thought that he was her son. Not her husband.
Boyfriend.
Yeah, boyfriend. Yeah.
So basically, when Anthony number 1 or Tony number 1 got caught wind, so the friend contacted him and was like, this has been going on. And it turns out that friend's wife, Melissa, had actually confided in the wife that she'd been cheating on Tony with Anthony.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And so he was like, no, enough's enough. We've seen it out in the open now. It's time for you to face the music, so to speak.
Yeah.
So when Melissa gets home back to London or back to Essex from this work trip, he confronts her about it and decides to go and, they have a bit of a fight. She never admits to it. Even though he's got proof, she just sort of manipulates the situation. Anyway, he decides to go and stay, I think, with his family for a few days. Yep. And in that time, she basically starts creating this sob story, though. So she's contacted her brother in Australia and said that that Tony, number 1, is abusive. He's controlling. She's not allowed to do anything, and really builds up the fact that he's has not been a nice husband.
Yeah.
So her brother flies straight away over to London to get her back home to Australia and get her out of this abusive environment. And lo and behold, she cleared out everything. Yep. She cleared out their bank accounts. She took all of the jewelry. She even took cutlery and random stuff like that.
God. Yep. Just a mess with him.
It makes no sense.
No.
Anyway, she basically brings their son home to Australia as well and completely cuts contact.
To the point she changed their phone number. Yeah. So Tony, number 1's back in England, unable to contact his child.
Yeah, so he actually comes over to Australia and knocks on their door and is like, I need to see my son. He kind of then, in this story, pretty much fades into the background.
Yeah, you don't get much of that and know what goes on there, which, we don't need to.
Absolutely, but I think it's worth noting that it has come out that he was none of the things that Melissa accused him of being. No. He wasn't controlling, he wasn't abusive. He confronted her because she'd done something wrong and that made him a monster in her eyes.
Yeah, but this is the story she continued to tell to everyone.
Yep.
And everyone felt a lot of empathy for her in this situation where, as the story that she was telling, that she was being abused. And
because you believe the person who's being abused, that's why.
Yeah, as we should.
As we should.
There are very few women out there who lie about this stuff, and this woman is definitely one out of the bag.
Yeah,
like,
she absolutely is. But how,
her lying,
that tarnishes, reputations and stories for other women who are actually experiencing these things.
100%. Yeah.
Shame on her.
Yep.
Shame on her in so many ways.
Oh, well, this is it. It's her character in general, and once she realised who she really was, because she put across to everyone, and like you listen to family and friends about her as a person, they all thought she was lovely and bubbly and fun, and that she was just this really nice person. And she was not. Like, there was just nothing about her that was likable.
She was
under the
unscrupulous.
surface.
She was just, all she cared about was herself. Mm-hmm. In the inquest, which I know I'm sort of skipping ahead a bit here, but there was a psychologist who took the stand at the inquest.
Yeah.
And she said that Melissa, without being able to formally diagnose her, but Melissa displayed all the signs of having a narcissistic personality disorder.
Sociopathic narcissist is what, they basically said she would be if they could sit her down, from all accounts of friends, family, of what everyone described her as, and the actions that they know she took. That's where they could diagnose her was. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And she really, really and truly was.
Yeah.
So we now get to her relationship with Anthony Coletti. Well, isn't he an interesting character? So he was her hairdresser. When he sort of more established his relationship with her, he was no longer really hairdressing. He'd do some clients, I think, part-time. He also did prawn breeding.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I looked into all this.
And prawn breeding, interesting one. And his passion, his life's work, DJing.
Yeah. Please do yourselves a favour and jump on Spotify and look up Paws Off. Paws as in animal paws, Paws, Paws Off is his music, and you'll find his album there.
Yep.
So worth a listen.
Oh, it is fantastic. I mean, I don't really want to give this guy any more of my money. I mean, look.
I don't think he's making any money out of the views he's getting on Spotify.
No. The album title is Raid, and that is my favourite song on the whole album.
On the album, yeah.
It's a bit of a spoken word lyrics. I'm just going to read you a couple of my favourite quotes.
Oh, please, yes, bring it.
A young lady from a large corporation that tortured a lady for 14 hours.
The rhyming just gets me.
Oh. Might get a snake or a rat and call it Isabella. I'll buy the ugliest thing I can find. So Isabella, Isabella Ellen was the ASIC
lead investigator.
Yeah, lead investigator.
Who ended up taking out an IVO against him because he was that horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're married. They've bought this, property in Dover Heights. Yeah. They're living the high life. He's got a $400,000 sports car. Mm-hmm. She's buying these extravagant. He is living the life because he genuinely thinks, that it's all legitimate and that she's this incredible financial wizard and she's got all this money and she really controlled him.
Oh, at the end of the day, unbeknownst to him, he was in an abusive relationship.
Yep.
I mean, he certainly met a need for her and she had a lot of control over him. And
she had all the control. I think that actually plays a lot into his actions after Melissa's disappearance. But we'll get to that in a second. So they're living this lovely life. Things are going really, really well. And what happens, I think it was, let me just get I need to make sure. In the early hours of the 11th of November, who knocks on their door at 5:30 in the morning?
Well, no, it wasn't 5:30 in the morning. Well, according to Anthony, it was 5:30 in the morning. According to ASIC, it was more like 6:30.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
because ASIC even say, we have to be careful of our overtime hours. And so we would be knocking on the door at 5:30 in the morning for overtime hours. So I love that because he really ramps it up in those songs about how bad that rave
I reckon that's where I got my 5:30 from, actually.
I totally
know from the song.
Yeah, it's from the song.
Oh, I really need to check my sources. They had a warrant to search and seize any proceeds of crime essentially the crimes that Melissa had committed. So they'd been working on this case for months and months and months in the lead up to this day.
Yeah.
There's question whether or not Melissa caught wind potentially of the fact that ASIC were looking into her. So there was a really interesting thing that happened maybe about a month before the raid. By pure and utter chance. So when Melissa would go to Aspen, she would try and recruit clients over there because obviously people who are in those situations, rich, they've got lots of money. And she actually was able to recruit a client in Aspen, an Australian woman who chose to invest $2.5 million of her money with Melissa. And that woman was then sitting in a dentist's office waiting to have her teeth cleaning done, and she was sitting next to a woman in the waiting room, and they got chatting. I'm not even sure what sparked the conversation, but they got chatting, and they discovered, so the other woman, not the Aspen woman, the other one sitting in the chair, she was the woman whose license Melissa was using to trade.
Rachel. Yeah, right.
To trade. Like, she obviously needed an accreditation number in order to do some of the, not even legitimate. She'd borrowed this woman's number to put on the paperwork that she was already forging. And this woman knew about it, but I couldn't find anything about whether she'd gone to ASIC or whether she was the informant.
Well, they believe
to them.
that Rachel was at least one of the informants, because I believe there was a phone call from Melissa to this Rachel asking, can I just borrow your number at one stage?
What?
Yeah. To which Rachel was like, no, that's fully illegal. You can't do that. Which I think then triggered for this Rachel, well, hang on a second, has she done this before? And so I do believe that Rachel was one of the informants.
Right.
And rang ASIC going, I think my number's being used inappropriately. Yeah, so I think that's what triggered it back further.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other one was a doctor in Perth. Yeah. So there was some doctors, somehow she managed to get infiltrate some doctors in Perth. And one of the doctors that he was like, yep, keen as I want to invest.
$4 million.
$4 million, yeah, fair bit of money. But just so happens his wife was an accountant. So no, not a financial advisor, completely different job. But being an accountant, she was a bit more savvy, and she wanted to ask questions like, what's the number, what's her financial advisor number, what's, how is this being invested and things. And these questions were then not being able to be answered properly, that this accountant then, I believe, also was an informant, potentially.
But Melissa, because they started asking Melissa all these questions, she literally gave them their money back without any question.
All of a sudden it was like, oh, actually I
can't help you anymore.
Help you. Yep.
So I think that also raised a red flag for them to be like, you can't just pull that money out without our signatures. Like you shouldn't have been able to do that. So that obviously got them. So the Rachel in the dentist's office said to this lady that Melissa had met in Aspen, take your money out now. There's something going on. This is not legitimate. And so she rings Melissa and she's like, oh, Melissa, she fabricated, as in she fabricated this story, but she said, oh, I found a house that I want to buy and can I please have my money back? And by all accounts at this point, Melissa had told her that she'd made $300,000 return on her investment at that point. So, by all accounts, she should have $2.8 million now in her fund. And Melissa's like, oh, no, property is not a good investment. This is not a good idea. I strongly advise against it. And she really stood her ground. She was like, no, I want my money.
Yeah.
I think she's the only one, and the Perth doctor, who were able to actually get out before the shit hit the fan.
Yeah, there were certain ones that legitimately retired and one of their supers paid out and things like that, which this is the thing with a Ponzi scheme, which is what this was, which is basically a fancy word for robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
She would legit just take this money off people and use it for herself to pay for what she wanted to live on and do. And so this money was not being invested how they were expecting it to be invested. But so she would have to then basically go, this person would come to her and say, yeah, look, I'm ready to retire. I'd like to pull out my money. And she would then have to scrounge and try and pull all this money together. And actually, there was a few people that got their money back by doing that. But that just meant that she then had to go and find another client to replace at least more than one. That's why she built from going, I only have 15 clients at a time to this 60 that she ended up with at the time of when she was found out, because she was like, well, I need more. I need more money, so I've got to get more investors.
Yeah.
Insane.
Oh, insane.
Yeah.
So she ended up giving the $2.8 million back. So she's down $300,000.
God, wouldn't you be grateful that you got a bit of a tip off to get out? Bloody hell.
Not everybody was so lucky.
No.
So the raid happens and ASIC, so they turn up with the AFP, the Australian Federal Police, and they are allowed to seize anything that was purchased with investor funds. And so they have gone and they've taken all of her designer clothing, all of her jewellery.
Her Gucci wedding dress.
There was own for one piece of jewellery. A lot of them were worth, 100,000 here, 200,000 there.
Yeah.
All these designer clothes. They took her laptops. They took anything of
hard
value.
drives of CCTV that was around the house, unfortunately.
Yeah. They took anything of value in the house.
Yeah. Watches galore.
The raid and seizure took about 14 hours, I believe. So they were there for a really long time. ASIC put out a report at the end of all of this, and basically, they were wearing cameras and
body
recording
cams.
devices. So we know a lot about what happened in that day. Apparently, Melissa, at certain points, so it was later claimed that they denied her food and water, and which
According
was
to
not
Pause Off's music.
Oh my God. I think Anthony was really put out by the fact that they took so much of their personal items as well.
Well, yeah, he was convinced that this was all legit, that this money was theirs and, his, and that they shouldn't have been taking anything. Yeah.
They took his sports car too.
That really upset him.
He didn't like that at all. So you can imagine going through this, Melissa obviously knows she's guilty. Anthony doesn't.
And that's I find that interesting with the body cam footage, the bits that you do get to have been able to see, the way her body language, etc. You could see she was terrified. Yeah. And she knew she'd been caught and she was done. Yeah. Which speaks to a lot for what came next, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So the end of, ASIC have gone. They've basically said to her, so I think this happened on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
They said to her that she needed to appear in court on the Friday morning. Now, this is in 2020, COVID times.
November of 2020. So Melbourne probably still in a lockdown.
Yep. No doubt. But she had to appear via video link because court wasn't sitting face to face still at that point.
Yeah.
Basically, what happened in that interim time, so ASIC leaves her house, I think it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They've taken everything. They don't have much left at all. Apparently they had takeaway for dinner, her and her son and Anthony, and then...
Well, I think that her phone was being able to be tracked from that point, and they said that she Google searched Uber Eats of where to get dinner and a lawyer.
Yeah.
Which, I wasn't able to get an answer on this. So during the raid, to me, first and foremost would be, I'll call my lawyer. Yeah. And to me, someone who, this is again where it undoes her a little bit, someone who is operating with a business that is that many hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, surely you have a lawyer. But if you don't have a lawyer, you surely have someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone who would be like, I'll get you onto this person. I'm shocked that she didn't call a lawyer whilst there was police there.
But what would she have said to the lawyer?
Well, to me, a lawyer would have been able to rock up and at least advise her, don't say any more. Or, 100% she should have had a lawyer with her that day.
Yeah.
From what we get, and then look, maybe we're not getting everything, and maybe Anthony's correct in this, that in his music, how he says that we weren't even allowed to get a lawyer. That's not legal. I'm fairly certain that the one person who could have walked through that door that day to support that situation would have been a lawyer.
Yeah.
To wait until they've left before she starts Google searching a lawyer, I would have been Google searching. I would have been on the phone. Who do I need to get to, whether you're guilty or innocent, whatever,
True.
Where's lawyer?
Yep.
I need a lawyer.
Yep.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you have done that at 6:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. You wouldn't have waited all day, but I feel
No,
like she
that's
just
it.
apparently at one point she even went and laid down on the bed during the raid,
She did seem to just
she
sort
must
of
have just shut down, I reckon.
yeah.
Thinking, how
because the other thing that gets me is that Anthony says that evening after they've all left, okay, well, how would you react if people just come through your house and raided the whole place? I would have had a million and one questions for my partner going, like, right, what
the fuck
the actual
just
fuck
happened?
Yeah. He never asked her a thing.
No, in fact, he said, quote unquote, we had a normal night. Sorry, what?
We cuddled to go to sleep.
Yep.
She just needed me to cuddle her.
She had a bath and I cuddled her to sleep.
What? I would have been like, whoa. The questions could not have come thick enough and fast enough.
I think this plays into her control over him.
Absolutely.
Like, he didn't even feel like he could ask questions of her.
And that's why he has absolutely no understanding of the control and abuse that was being done to him.
Yeah.
He is still under that spell of, I have no power here. Mm-hmm. I am not to speak and I'm not to ask questions. This is for her to sort out.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So they go to bed around midnight. Mm-hmm. 5:30. This one legit is 5:30 because her son attests to the fact that he heard the front door closing at around that time.
There's even a question mark on that.
Is there?
Because the gym was on the 3rd floor.
Yep.
And they've said that the distance between the gym and the front door, you wouldn't hear the click of the door.
Oh, okay. But her son was in bed.
No, I think he said he was in the gym. He was working out or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But even then, even from his bedroom, wherever he was, it was on the 3rd floor of the house.
Okay.
I mean, this place was pretty massive and it had this incredible view from the rooftop to the Sydney Harbour. Stunning. But yeah, he was on the 3rd floor and obviously to the door, they questioned whether or not he actually could have heard the door click.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So she's left at some point in the morning.
Yeah.
She's left behind her phone, wallet, keys. She has taken
She
nothing
was meant to
with
be
her.
meeting a friend to go for a run. She had a personal trainer that was also invested in her with her business and lost a lot of money. And she was meant to be meeting her to go for a run. And she did text message her during the morning to say, I won't be able to meet today. And then, but no one's seen or heard of her.
From her since.
She's
gone missing. Mm-hmm. So she's gone out. She's got nothing with her. Anthony just stays at home all day waiting for her to come
ring
back.
anybody, doesn't do anything. He literally does nothing.
Literally. What would he have actually done? I don't even think they had a TV.
No. Well, I mean, that's the thing. He was complaining that they had access to no money, like he couldn't even buy food.
Oh, they had an $800 a week allowance.
Was that from immediately?
Immediately,
right.
Yeah. ASIC gave
that's
them...
a pretty decent...
I know.
Be better than Centrelink.
Yeah. Now, in the lead up to this, Melissa had done a few things which I guess are suspicious.
Yeah.
She paid 6 months worth of their mortgage repayments up front, whereas she'd been paying monthly before that. Asked Anthony to help her get a shredder, like an industrial $3,000 shredding machine.
That was that was building up the months prior, wasn't it?
I think in July.
Yeah. So that was sort of a little bit of an indicator that she might have had wind of something was up.
Something was going on.
Yeah.
The other thing she did was she deleted all of her social media profiles.
That's right. Yes, she did.
And
Facebook or Instagram.
So that I'm guessing so she couldn't be traced.
I reckon more so like that she knew this was going to be big news and people couldn't
tag her or contact her.
Find her, like in terms of, find information about her from the media and that sort of thing and go searching for her photos. And yeah.
So she's there's been knowledge that something was coming.
Yeah. Whether it was just, these things can't go on forever. There's got to, seriously, how long do you think you can keep this up for? And from what people said about her too, that she was a very stressed person. It was very stressful for her to run this Ponzi scheme, and earn all this money, get all this money.
Poor Diddums.
But yeah, so she wasn't in a good way. She was pretty stressed out and agitated, and maybe she just knew that there's got to be an end.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But, or she'd been tipped off in some way that...
ASIC were looking in. So she's missing for a day. The next morning, so she's missing... The ASIC raid happened Wednesday, missing all day Thursday. Anthony, this is what gets me. He's gone to bed Thursday night. She still hasn't come home to get any of her things. She's still missing. What does he do? Oh, this is the best. This is actually the best. Before going to bed on Thursday night, what does he do, Meg?
Oh, no, you go. No, you go.
He gets in his car and he plays her favourite music that he's created on loudspeaker. He winds down his windows and he drives around Dover Heights hoping that his music will attract her back to him.
Hope he didn't really do that.
Well, look, I think there's, in the inquest, this is his story. This is what he told police that he did.
Yeah.
But in the inquest, it actually came out because they were able to track his phone and his movements.
Yeah.
He didn't actually do that. But I love that that's his story.
Oh, that he thought that was like, I don't know, that people would be like, oh, he's so beautiful.
But what he actually did was he went around to a friend's place, smoked a joint, and went back home. He did not disclose to this friend that Melissa was missing.
No.
He did not disclose to this friend that they'd been raided the day before. Mm-hmm. So this friend just thought, oh, yeah, he's just come over for a regular Thursday night.
Yep. Wouldn't you be like, mate, you wouldn't be what's been going on? Like, but my wife's missing.
Don't you think he'd want to tell someone something?
Oh, I mean, because I do... Okay. The situation he was in, I fully think that he was... in a situation where he was like, I don't want to do anything because I think I'll get into trouble. I'll do the wrong thing. Yeah. I do get that perspective. And there was another thing he did say that I'll agree with him. There is you sort of think with an adult going missing, you have to wait 24 hours before you can report them missing. However, in this situation, with an ASIC raid on their house, think it's kind of important that you disclose that she's missing immediately. But not only that, because the situation they were in, it's highly volatile, like what she would do. You want to be able to protect her and look after her and make sure she's okay, like if nothing else.
Yeah. Do you think it's still a widely thought out thing that people think you have to wait 24 hours to report someone missing?
Personally, if there was an adult child, whatever missing, I would do it immediately. And even if those cops turned to me and said, come back in 24 hours, I'd be like...
I don't think in this day and age they would do that.
No.
Because in 24 hours, they're losing a lot of potential information and leads and data.
In this situation, 100% they wouldn't have been go away and wait 24 hours.
Yeah.
100% once they'd realised who she was and what was going on, they would have looked into it.
Having said that, when he reported her missing... So, okay, the next morning, Friday morning, she's meant to attend court via video link. The video link pops up and it's Anthony's face. So they've got the ASIC investigators there and the judge from the court for the court hearing. Anthony pops up and they're like, where's Melissa? And he goes, she's not here. And they're like, well, where is she? And he goes,
he wanted to know if she was on the link.
Yeah,
he was like, is she here?
Yeah. Oh, she's not here? Oh. Well, I haven't seen her since 2 nights before.
Because this is, again, what gets me in this, right? So that court hearing happened and there's obviously ASIC's lawyer on the call and there's AK is on the screen on his little logo and there's no one else. So the court, not understanding sort of, who's present, and they do that, they call you and say, is someone here representing, the respondent and then, this sort of thing. And they're like, oh, we believe there is someone here, AK, and because they're thinking this could be her lawyer. But it's not, it's Anthony.
And he's like, oh, what? Melissa's not here. And they're like, no, where is she? And he goes, well, I don't know. And they're like, well, have you reported her missing? And he goes, no.
No, so they've just to adjourn the court hearing.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you need to go to the cops. You need to report that she's missing.
But he still takes, I think, 6 hours after that until he actually calls the police. And then, so he goes down to Bondi police station to report her missing, right? Mm-hmm. They then say to him, we need to interview you. And he goes, no thanks.
Oh, I did not know that he refused to be interviewed.
Yep. So,
because he'd be shit scared he'd say something wrong.
Yep. So they then go back to his house because they're like, well, we need to see some evidence, have a look. And they walk in and they're like, where's all their stuff?
Yeah.
What's going on? And then they see on the table that the ASIC
all
subpoena, the warrant,
Yeah.
all of the stuff, and they're like, whoa. And these were uniformed police officers who did this initial search.
So there's body cams on them too.
Yeah. They've then escalated that to a more senior officer.
Well, they immediately were like, he's potentially done something here too.
That's what they think.
Yeah, their immediate instinct. There's three of them all had the same instinct that he's got something to do with their disappearance.
Yeah.
It was that dodgy, how he was reacting, and
his story is really weird, and he's really evasive with them. So they escalate it to a sergeant named Trent Riley, and you can watch his body cam footage as well when he then comes to the house. So I think he spoke to Tony on the phone, and then he's come to the house as well to further the investigation or to figure out exactly what's going on. And he says to Anthony, mate, I'm really concerned here. Like, this is really unusual. Yeah. What's happened? And he's like, oh, I can't give you any information about that. I can't tell you anything about that. He won't. It's like he's not being cooperative. And then when they challenge him and say, you're not being cooperative, he's like, no, I'll do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, I'll help you. And they're like, okay, so when did you last see Melissa? And he's like, oh, yeah, well, it was the night before last. And they're like, well, that's not what you told us when you originally reported her missing. You told us you'd seen her in the morning. And his story just never added up.
No.
In the inquest, the judge actually... the coroner at the inquest actually called him on all this and said, we can't actually really take your account for what it's worth because, take it into account because...
It chops and changes too much.
And there's so many different versions of events.
Yeah.
He was an unreliable witness.
I genuinely think, though, that was just him being him, as in, like, I think he's a sandwich short of a picnic.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I don't know that he was purposefully being evasive.
So when he filled out, this will just give you a bit of an idea as to exactly how his mind works. When he was filling out the missing persons report for Melissa at the police station when he first did it, they get you to fill out what was she last wearing, and so it's like she was wearing activewear, she was wearing these ASIC shoes.
Well, I think he wrote Nike, but yeah.
Oh, he did write Nike actually. That's right, but she was actually wearing ASICs. We know that for sure later. And then there's a section to write what underwear she was wearing, and he wrote grandma.
No, he did not. Yeah. Oh my God. That you're getting into trouble for, Anthony.
So the other thing is, like, when the police ask him, like, why do you think she's gone missing? This is before they knew all of the ASIC stuff. He goes, oh, no reason. I have no idea why she would have gone missing.
Oh my God. Yeah, that she's got no reason to disappear right now. No. Like, there's nothing going on in our lives. We're just regular millionaires.
Yep. Apparently he was quite sweaty when they asked him questions too. Like, he was getting really worked up. Like, he couldn't, he couldn't, like, I don't know. He was so on edge about it.
Nervous he was going to get into trouble with Melissa.
Yeah. So 100 days after Melissa went missing, was it 400 kilometres down the coast? 400 kilometres
down the coast, yeah.
There are some kids walking along the beach, a very secluded beach by all accounts, and they discover a shoe, and inside that shoe it was obviously forensically tested, and it was proven to be Melissa's foot. Now, the foot was so degraded that they can't actually tell how the foot was severed from the leg, so they don't know whether it was a shark bite or whether it was sawn off. The bone was too degraded to be able to actually make that determination. So nobody actually knows to this day what has happened to Melissa, or even that she's 100% dead.
No, the coroner did in 2023 declare that she's dead.
Yeah.
But also said, but couldn't decide how
the manner of death is still open.
But still, everyone. I mean, the people who knew her very well all say she would have categorically had a plan B.
Yep.
Which then opens up. I mean, there's these people who genuinely knew her are not convinced that she wouldn't have cut her own foot off and found a way of getting back.
Yep.
Climbing back and getting her money back.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What do you think?
Look, the narcissist that she was, and what I know of narcissists, I struggle with the thought that she's topped herself.
Yeah.
That I don't know that just doesn't seem right to me. The thought of her being murdered, I have looked and I've gone down a few rabbit holes on this of like, okay, so if there was foul play here, who would that have been? And so you think, okay, so there's got to be someone helping her in this financial situation of like stealing all this money. Potentially there were other people involved and didn't want their names coming out. So I can understand that maybe there was someone there who potentially could have murdered her. But I go down all these rabbit holes and there's no one. There isn't anyone that sticks out. There's one guy who was an accountant that she had in Brisbane who'd been put in jail for fraudulent financial matters previously. But don't think so. From what I can research on him.
Well, I think they looked down that that
it's
path,
been pretty
and
ruled out.
he was not in, like, he couldn't have been in New South Wales
at the time. No. So there's much. So that kind of, I feel like that's a dead end too. So then the only other option is that she is still alive and out there and has gone on the run. I mean, she did have flying lessons, and people have talked about maybe she got on a plane and flew herself somewhere, or she's got on a yacht, which is plenty of those, fairly accessible. But they've looked at marinas and they've looked at CCTV footage. No one has found anything. The thing that gets me the most out of all this mystery, and it is going to be a mystery forever, I believe, for this. So her CCTV footage from her house was turned off because they took all the hard drives. Mm-hmm. So her walking out of her front door is not on any footage, absolutely. But in that area, there was CCTV footage being from other houses in her street and other areas around. So the police have gone and got all that footage. She's nowhere to be seen. Mm-hmm. So if she walked somewhere or drove her car somewhere, it would have been picked up on CCTV, and it was not. So the only other option then is that she was picked up by somebody, and then we don't know what that vehicle looks like to know that she'd be in that car on the CCTV footage. So that gets me. Where did she go from walking out her front door? Did she walk out her front door? Like, how? That gets me.
Agreed.
But at the end of the day, I think that if her foot's rocked up, she's not hopping around somewhere.
No. I think she's dead.
I do. I
just don't know how. And I agree with you in that, given her narcissistic traits, I find it hard to come at that she would have killed herself. Although if she was so, like, this has tarnished her reputation so bad that she thought there's no way I'm ever coming back from this.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have pushed her over the edge to go down that path.
You look at her in that footage from, as we were saying, from the raid.
Yeah.
She looks pretty
stressed. And she knows, like, it's all coming crashing down. She doesn't want to have to face the music. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she's
we'll ever know.
Hopping around some island living a life. I really don't.
I think she's dead.
And the thought of her being able to manage, like, okay, she's gone somewhere and had someone surgically remove the foot and have a prosthetic and recover from that. So when you think about the number of people she would have to be in on this to have dropped the foot in the ocean and to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to actually...
And to have it found.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to have it so degraded, and they found, like, lots of marine microorganisms, like, in the tissue, which they can prove... They're pretty sure they can date it to almost 100 days that the foot had been in the ocean. So,
I mean, you're not chopping off a foot and then dropping it the same day. It's going to take time to recover, to have your prosthetic leg, foot attached, and all these sorts of things. Like, the thought of all that doesn't really make sense to me at all.
Same.
No.
So I think she's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, then now there's left the situation of $25 million has been stolen from about 60 odd people, and it's getting that money back to, or trying to get back some of that money to these people. There was an avenue that I was looking at that, with self-managed super funds, there is a process in this to regulate it in terms of they've got to be audited every 12 months. So she had other people helping her in this situation. And so the auditors that she was using to look at these, I question this, as a person who's investing all that amount of money, why are you not having it audited independently? She, I think, was offering up an independent auditor who did this process. So I think they're a bit liable because they didn't pick up any of this stuff. There wasn't a red flag put out there at all.
Yeah.
And biggest red flag of a simple 6-digit number rather than an 8-digit number.
Yeah, so they weren't doing their due diligence.
They weren't. There was actually a financial advisor that I found who said that any good financial advisor, any half-decent financial advisor can log into the background of these CommSec accounts and check on their process, right? As an auditor, that's what your job is.
Right.
You literally, like, that is 101 auditing of super self-managed supers. That was not done by this company because they would have been logged in and gone, there's no account. So there's also question marks over where this money isn't just Melissa Caddick's, like, crime. You know what I mean? There's other people who have stuffed up here.
For sure.
I mean, look, we can't all be financial gurus and know how to, operate our super funds and things. But to me, if you don't know enough, then you shouldn't be pulling it out of a managed out of a fund that is reputable and handing it over to someone either.
Yeah, without doing your own due diligence and having somebody to look into it. So ASIC have employed, and I think like the AFP as well, have employed a forensic accountant to kind of go through everything and figure it all out and tease out what was real, which wasn't much, and what wasn't. They were then able to, they've obviously got a lot of her possessions that were really valuable. They've been able to, all of her jewellery now has gone to auction. Her clothing has been sold. They've tried to recoup as much, like their houses and their penthouse and all this other stuff was sold. And they've been able to recoup, I think it was now, as of literally 2 days ago, they've been able to recoup 36 cents to the dollar of the investors' money. So they've been looking to try and recoup as much of this money as possible, because these people, this was their retirement. They've got nothing left. They're going to have to work for, a really long time to try and recoup all of this money. And so they're now looking into, I guess in a way, fraudulent tax payments that Melissa made under her company Maliva, which were not legitimate because she never, what she was submitting wasn't real. So technically that money that she's paid to the ATO was for illegitimate payments. Yeah. And so the ATO actually owe her estate that money back. I can't find a dollar amount anywhere, but apparently it's quite a significant amount of money. So hopefully that'll give some more money. Top it up a bit more. But people are still not going to come out on top here, are they? If they've already, how many years later, we're in 2024 now, and they've only been able to recoup 36 cents to the dollar. They're not going to be able to get back all of her, world first class travel and private jet money and all of the consumables she's purchased. So
which, on that same front, in this, Anthony is also collateral damage. Absolutely. He didn't ask for this, but at the same time, he was involved with someone who was doing some pretty dodgy shit. I don't know. I was going to ask you what your thoughts are on this, because there was a Spotlight interview with him, which, check it out. He got paid $50,000 for that.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that he should have been paid, because there's so much money being owed to all these investors that he shouldn't be making money out. That's still, to me, profits of crime.
Yeah.
He should be making money off of that.
No, I
the
fully
only
agree.
issue with that is that I know this, I'll say he's obviously still looking after a young son of Melissa's, and that he is a great stepdad to do that and take him on, although I believe there's still his biological father who also should have access, but he needs to provide for him. But he can go out and get work and be. He was a very good hairdresser. He worked for Joe Bailey. Joe Bailey.
He breeds prawns. Come on.
The prawns have got to be bringing some money in.
Oh, and surely that DJ gig will bring him in with his 320 views or whatever it is.
A few more after I've been on there.
We've added to the count a fair bit over the last week while we've been researching this. Really gets me in the mood.
Grab a wine and have a listen to the album. It's comedy gold. I was just saying to Emma before we started recording that it reminds me of my 7-year-old son, who every night makes up a song for me, and he will often get out the iPad and play a song, and then he'll sing to it and make his own music up. That, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what this 30-plus-year-old man, 40-year-old man is creating and recording.
I'm going to put it out there because I've seen Brody's musical stylings.
Yes.
I'm going to say Brody's way better at it than Anthony Coletti, hands down.
Oh, it's pure gold.
It is. It's great. It's actually great. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Have we come to the end?
Can I just tell you? This is another bit of so do you know the name of his breeding company for his prawns?
Oh, no, I don't. Go.
Slippery Little Suckers.
Oh, my God. What is wrong with that man?
Oh, it's great.
Oh, too good. Too good. All right. Well, God. I guess that brings us to the end of another episode for this week.
Feels so quick.
So quick, yet,
there's so much more out there on this case too. It's one without a solid ending, because it is. Please tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Did she commit suicide? Was she murdered? Is there something out there that we don't know about? Or what lovely island is she hopping around on?
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, just yet another piece of shit though, stealing money off people. I just can't even.
Stealing money off her friends and family.
That's what gets
we
me.
haven't even mentioned she did this to her own parents.
Yeah, that's awful. That's just, she really has dudded them big time. They've come out okay in this now. They've obviously had some pretty good lawyers themselves, and managed to get pretty much all of their investment back, but not without the dividends and things that they probably would have thought they were getting from any of this.
Yeah.
And they thought they had a place to live for life, and now they don't.
That's it.
Yeah. So yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next week we are going to be investigating and having a chat about the Port Arthur massacre.
Yes.
That's a really heavy one.
It's going to be heavy. Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
So yeah, if you stay tuned for that.
Yep.
We'd love to have you back next week. Any feedback is more than welcome. DM us on Instagram. Have a follow of us over on TikTok. We welcome any comments, and if you haven't subscribed already, that is the best way for us to really get this podcast out to more and more people. So we'd really appreciate it if you could do that for us.
Hit the follow, hit the subscribe button on whatever app that you use. That's huge if you can do that for us. That's great. And it means that you get notification of our next episode, which is always on Tuesdays.
Yep. Tuesday mornings. Love it.
Yeah, love a Tuesday morning.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for another episode, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week, everyone. Stay curious, crime besties. What's your favourite song by Pause On? No, Pause Off, sorry.
Pause Off. Yeah.
Pause Off.
Who does he think he is? Spent an inordinate amount of time listening to his shit. We're probably like the only people who've listened to his album since 2020.
I think we might be, because...
Oh, it's a bit of a whiteout here today.
Oh, we were sound asleep.
Okay, you ready, guys? We're going to get him, and then I'm going to go on 2 weeks holiday. You know that? Okay, now you go around the side, I'll go around the front. Me. No, we don't have any proof or any evidence. No, we'll just get them, yeah. Don't worry about them, I'm going on holiday soon. Yeah, they've got millions of dollars of jewellery, luxury items, clothes and everything. I can't wait.